Hello, welcome to the next instalment of Build a Website from Scratch. We've gone through the discovery phase, looking at where we are and where we need to get to. Then we moved into the design phase, and now we've moved into the development phase. Started a bit of work out on coding out the design, but still quite a long way to go. What we've done so far is the heading and also sort of coloured out the footing, and we've got everything sitting within its containers, so that's kind of nice. We've got a fairly basic looking menu here, but it's not looking the best. If we make this smaller, we'll start to see, look at that, not so good. We need to improve on that. So I've moved back into VS Code, and what I'm going to be doing now is let's open up our code for our menu, which is in the header at the moment. And first thing I think I'm going to do is just tidy this up slightly. What I'm going to do is move this navigation code into its own partial. So let's create a new partial, and we'll call that navbar.htm. There we go, and there we go, we've got navbar.htm, and I'll grab this navigation code here, get rid of that, and put that in there. Let's just tidy up our format slightly and do the same thing here. Now we need to bring that in as a partial. Now bring it back. So we'll do our curly braces and percentage sign to get partial. It might help if I type properly. And I'm going to call that partial. It's in the site folder, and we called it navbar. And let's just indent that nicely. Right, we've refreshed our page and something's missing. That's the menu. Now, what's going on here? Looking at our code, we've got our sidebar, navbar. It's here, so it's actually pulling in the right thing. It would have given us an error if it wasn't there. And here's our file here. Clearly something's missing. If we look a bit closer, what we'll see here are these static menu items, and this partial, particularly the static menu item. So obviously something's not sort of being not going in here. Let's just test and see if it's actually displaying the thing. So I'll just type in the word boo, and let's have a look and see if it works. Yep, there we go. So it's actually pulling in the partial. Alright, so what we've got here, when we move back into here, is this is clearly an issue. So that tells me that the static menu doesn't exist. So where does that come from? Well, if we look back at the header, we've got all this other info up here. What happens if we just grab this stuff, and we'll just copy it at the moment, and paste this here. See, this is telling Winter where to get things from. So it's getting the static menu. It's getting the static menu called main menu. This should probably work now if we're lucky. Let's just have a look and see if that does its job. Fantastic. Right, let's have a think about what we're going to build here. This menu Doesn't look too bad for bigger screens. Could do with a bit more space between the characters, the items there, but apart from that, I think we're about 90% there on that one. Where it is going to get tricky is when we move into the mobile version. If we look at it in the browser here, what we've got here, we probably need to do something about that. That's not going to look so great. What I suggest we do is some kind of menu button up the top and have this kind of dropping down and just sliding off the page. Let's build that, shall we? We'll start with the HTML, so in our navbar file. Now, what do we got here? Container, static menu, menu items. So we'll add in here a menu button. We'll just call that menu. And we're going to need an ID for in here as well. Okay, so ID equals menu list. And that will give us this. We now have a menu sitting up the top here and got these items here. Right, so we're not going to need to see that for the larger items, but it will be useful, come in useful for when we do our sliding menu. Back into our code, let's go to our SAS file and what we've got here. Right, this is where we need to look at some media queries. Two ways of doing this. We can start with the mobile menu and then build it out for the as the page gets bigger, or we can start with the big menu and turn it into mobile as we shrink it down the page. I tend to prefer the former version, so starting with the mobile one. So what we'll do is set up some media queries and see what happens. Just explain briefly what I've done here rather than sort of typing it all out. What I've added here is media queries. So I have a media query for when the window has a minimum width of 600 pixels and changes the background color for nav menu to pink, and the standard one is making it yellow. So let's just see if that makes a difference. And we've got no change. This is a bit weird. Right, I'll just refresh that. That should be there. Let's just have a look at our see if we've generated a style sheet with those in there. Down here, yep, it's in the style sheet, so it should be being displayed. Okay, I know what it is. Sometimes browsers and servers cache files. A nice little way around that is we'll go to our layouts part, and where the style is, I'm just going to just add a version to that. That should so I'll put a query, so it's like a GET request, and equals, I don't know, 1. Let's go back. Yes, there we go. Yes, that's what it was. Caching. I don't know how many hours of frustration and wailing and gnashing of teeth that particular issue's caused me in the past, but yeah, it just happened right there, so oh well, live and learn, don't we? I'll just type some stuff out here to save you watching me painfully type things. Now, what I've done, I'll just go through this, is I've made the menu a display of flex. I've given a gap of 1 rem around the flex items, and I've given it a flex direction of column. Now if it's wider than 600 pixels, then the flex direction is going to be changed to row. So what we've got here, you'll see the flex gap here, so home page, about us. So there's a nice little gap there, and we can possibly even make that a bit wider. What do you reckon? We'll go for 2. Have some nice wide tap targets. Yes, that's nicer. And does that work in mobile? There we go. In mobile menu, we've got plenty of space between those. That'll make Google Lighthouse happy. Got a little space over here. We need to clean that up a bit. Larger gap here, and in the, there we go. We've got a nice larger gap there as well. Got this space here that we need to do something about. Let's have a look and see what's causing that. Okay, that is coming from the UL tag. So let's see if we can fix that up. We're in nav menu and UL, and what we'll do with the UL is we'll just take away more margins and paddings and whatnot. So margin 0 and padding 0. Let's see if that's given us some more space. No, it hasn't. And of course that's not going to work. The reason being is we've got UL of a class nav menu, so it's not nav menu inside the UL. Yeah. So if I grab that, move that up there, get rid of that, and let's tidy this up a bit. Yeah, there we go. And yes, that's what we're looking for. Now these colours are hurting a little bit, so I think it's time we fix that up. Right, so we've got the yellow here and we've got the pink here. Get rid of the pink. And this yellow, let's go to our colours here and replace it with our menu colour, which which is this glaucous colour here. So we'll grab that, and I don't know, I copied that, didn't I? Yes, that's less painful. Now, these gaps, these button sizes here, we probably need to look at that. I'm just going to put a border around these temporarily so I can see what's going on. So 1 pixel red solid, can't miss that. Yes, there we go. I think they could probably do with a bit more space around them. So how about some padding? Maybe about a quarter of a letter or something like that. 0.25 rem. See how that looks. That's probably a bit better. And what have we got here? Yep, bit of space between them. And yep, excellent. Okay, so what I want to do is these buttons here smack up against the top, so I might just bring them down slightly on this version. Let's go back to our here, and the nav menu, the whole thing, we'll just give a bit of padding to the top. I don't know, maybe 0.5 rem. How's that going to go? Instead of padding, I should probably do margin. Rather than making the box bigger, we'll just put a bit of space over the top of it. Maybe a little bit more than that. Sometimes there's a bit of trial and error. Yep, I reckon that'll work alright. And in our mobile version, not too bad. Still got to deal with this other stuff here, but we'll deal with that shortly. Right, next thing to deal with is this menu here. We don't need to see it in the screen version, but it needs to be there for the phone version. So let's make it disappear. Back in VS Code, we've got our style sheets here, and in our nav bar we've got this ID of menu button. Okay, so back here, menu button, we want it to disappear on the larger versions. So Let's make that a display none. Right, let's see what we've got. Gone from there and still exists there. Yep, that's what we want. Word of caution with using this display none is that it actually pulls it right out of the browser itself. If you want this, the reason I'm using display none on this button is screen readers aren't going to be using the menu button, so it's safe to pull that out of the whole thing. Our menu itself will make that available to screen readers because you don't want to pull the navigation out. Now what do we have? We've got our menus here and these small versions are here. I need to actually pull these out and make them a bit more user friendly, and the way to do that is in here. We'll make that position absolute. Now back to here. That's given us what we want there, and of course what it's done is made a mess of the screen version. So let's fix that one up. That's going to be a position which is going to be static. That's the default. There we go. I'll just show you what I did there. Down in the nav menu, and where the mid width is 600 pixels, I've just added the static there to sort of pull it back. So absolute. Positioning's not the best, static. So let's just fix that up. And okay, so we'll bring it down from the top. Try about the equivalent of about 3 lines, and in from the right, give it a letter spacing, and let's just see what that does. Yep, that's a bit better. Probably do something about this, sort out this menu now. Back in VS Code, and that was menu button. And it needs needs a little bit of a margin, doesn't it? So margin, try about half. Half, and need to make it give it a pointer. Let's see what that's done. Yep, that's not too bad. We've got the pointer when we sort of go over it, so users will know that this is going to be a clickable thing. I'm happy with that so far. Now that we've got our menu sitting there, let's pull it off to the side, shall we? Okay, so moving over to our browser, VS Code, sorry, and alright, so we're just going to do a, I think it's transform, yep, translate X, and we'll move it about 120%. See what that does. Okay, that's moved that off there, and I don't think it's going to be very nice for, there we go, it's moved off there, so we need to fix it up for the other versions. Okay, let's set up a means of bringing our menu back. We'll just do another class which comes off the nav menu, and we'll call that is open. Now what is open is going to do is transform translate 0. Okay, back into our browser. Let's go into our inspector, get our menu, and let's just nav menu is move that off. Yep, that brings that back. Well, it's just going to pop backwards and forwards, so how about we do a bit of a an animation on that. Back in code, let's apply a transition to that. So transition will go all, and we'll just make it an ease, and about 300 milliseconds ought to do it. Back into our browser and inspector, let's just pop this in here and see if we can see if it does what it's supposed to do. So we've got a nav menu, dash dash is open, go off that, yes. Okay, the animation is there due to toggling of class. Now with a few lines of JavaScript we can make that happen. Back into VS Code, and what I'm going to do, it's relatively simple really. We've got an ID here of menu button, we can target that with JavaScript, and we've got an ID here of menu list which we can also target with JavaScript, and we just add our class or toggle it. So it's actually fairly simple to do, and so let's do it. So in our theme under resources under JS, we're just going to make a new file, and let's just call that menu.js. And of course by doing that, I'll just comment. We've just triggered the gulp JavaScript build. Yes, that seems to have worked. And we've got a scripts.min.js, and yep, it's got comment in it. I guess we should also make sure that JavaScript is being called. Back to our default layout. We've got assets JavaScript. Let's just fix this to make this sort of work a bit better. So it's JavaScript and it is scripts dot bin. Okay, I've just done a console log saying hello. Just wanted to make sure everything's all working as it should. So pulling over into our browser, we go into our console part and let's do a reload. Okay, yes, there are a number of errors there. Assets vendor is not found, and nor is jQuery. That's not surprising because we haven't actually put them into the project. So those are expected errors. We'll sort them out at a later time. We're getting hello back through the console. Let's just change that again. We'll just change it to hello there and hello there. Yep, so we've verified that's all working, so it's calling that. Excellent. Right, the magic of JavaScript. Let's just have a look here. This is something I prepared earlier rather than me typing this all out rather painfully for you. I thought I'll just sort of go through everything here. So I've declared a constant called menu button, and that comes from the document, the query selector and menu button. Where that is in the nav bar, it's selecting this here. Now we're doing the same thing with getting the menu list, and of course no prizes for guessing, it's this bit here. So selecting the menu list part within here. Okay, back to our, I've created just a simple function called menu toggle, and it's grabbing the menu list element here and it's applying this thing here, class list, and then it's toggling nav menu is open. So depending on whether we on the state, it'll swap it around. And finally, the thing that does all the pulls everything together is this menu button. We've added an event listener, so it's listening for a click, and when a click happens it runs this toggle menu. So let's have a look and see if that's going to work. I'll just do a refresh of the page. If I click on menu, there we go, it's back. And if I do the other version, yep, so we don't need to worry about the click events and things there because that doesn't exist. We're not using it, so it's only happening during the the business here. Right, so we're nearly there. So what have we got here? We've got that. I think I'll get rid of these boxes, those red lines. So that's pretty easy to do. Just go into here and where it says border, just get rid of that. Let's just format that up nicely, and we'll save that. Hit refresh. Why is that not working? Let's assume it's a caching issue. So look, we can move over into here. We'll change this v1 to version 2, and back to here, refresh. Yep, there we go. So what we've got here, we've got the menu working kind of. There's probably a lot more we could do with this. We could pretty these up a bit, play with these spaces. I might even do some of that, and also it might be useful to have a an off-click event as well, sort of close the menu. But that's something for, for a later date. The next installment we'll be working on is getting this. We'll work our way through the home page and build that up. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you so desire, and we'll see you in the next one.